Welcome back to another episode of Living the Standard, the podcast for those who refuse to settle for average. I'm your host, Brandon Hogan. Each episode, we talk about raising your standard in the gym, in business, and in life. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 6. It's pretty crazy. We're on episode 6 already. Feels just like yesterday I launched that first episode. And for those who are still tuning in, I really appreciate it. If this is your first time, please hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoy the show, please make sure to share it with your friends and family. Also, I've talked to a couple people that have listened to the show and they wish the episodes were a little bit longer. So I told them I would make an effort in making each episode a little bit longer, but I will say it is a little tough at the moment with everything I have going on. But I promised them I would make an effort, so going to do that for you guys and appreciate the feedback. If you have any other feedback for me, please feel free to reach out. But anyways, today's episode, want to touch back on what we touched on in episode 3, where my whole life's perspective changed. And that was when I was camping in the Rocky Mountains. I was at the lowest point of my life, so low that I was to a point where when I was driving, I would just wish a car would hit me just to escape that feeling. But anyways, this time point of my life, we ended up, me and some buddies, taking a trip to the Rocky Mountains. And like I said in episode 3, this was the turning point of my life. And there was a moment in this trip where my whole life's perspective changed based on one sentence a mountain man said to us when we were hiking up to the top of the mountain. So today I want to talk about what exactly that mountain man said and how it shifted my entire life. Me and my buddies pitched tent right at tree line, right next to this beautiful lake, not another person in sight. And one of the mornings we were hiking up to the top of one of the mountains and we met a small group of people walking down. One of them is the mountain man that I speak of. And if you can just picture in your own mind what a mountain man looks like, that's what this guy was. Long beard, big walking stick, backpack, clothes that you wear when you're hiking, not afraid to get dirty. Older guy. But anyways, this guy was walking down, and when we crossed paths, we said hello, and he followed it up with, "Isn't it beautiful?" as he's overlooking all the mountains and the land. And then he followed it up with just one sentence. "We're just small creatures on God's big planet." And then he kept walking. I can't explain the feeling that took over my body, but for some reason, that one sentence struck me immediately. As we continued our hike up to the top, I kept trying to make sense of what he just said to me. But when we got to the top, I knew what he meant. As I overlook miles and miles of land, seeing a pack of mountain goats, all the trees, lakes, I knew we are just small creatures on God's big planet. I then spent an extended amount of time, maybe an hour or two, just sitting on a ridge, overlooking 3 beautiful large lakes, and just thinking to myself about, and asking myself, I guess you can say, why am I letting my past mistakes and words of other people affect the way I feel? Why am I letting everything and everyone stress me out to a point where I didn't want to go another day? And when I started asking myself these things with the words of the mountain man in my head, I ultimately came to the conclusion that I have no clue. I had no clue why I was letting anything stress me out and cause me to go into a depression-like state. Like, these things are either things, one, I cannot control. For example, I cannot control what other people say or think. So why would I ever let myself get upset with other people's words? Because I personally cannot stop someone from saying things they want to say, and I cannot stop someone from doing something they want to do. I ultimately have zero control on that. But what I can control is my response or my reaction. I can give my thoughts on a situation. I can prove them wrong. I can change the type of person I am. I'm able to control these things. So therefore, I should never let another person's words or behavior harm my mental well-being or cause me to wish or want another life other than mine. So I need to stay focused on my own words and actions. And the second reason why I had no idea why I was letting anything stress me out was these things are done with and over with. I cannot go back in the past and change anything. I cannot go back and stop myself from making a mistake. I cannot go back and stop myself from partying so much or take things a little more seriously like my athletics or work ethic. I mean, I can't even go back 10 seconds and not accidentally bump into that glass cup that fell over and shattered everywhere. They already happened, and I need to move on from them and focus on the things I can do this very second. Like grabbing the broom and sweeping up the glass and moving on with my day. Or learn from a mistake I made or a situation where I could have been better. So I can be proud of who I am and be happy each and every day. Don't get me wrong, there are times I allow myself to let some anger or frustration out at times. Obviously in a controlled manner, yes, but they should not control my day, and they for damn sure should not control my life. Like for some situations, I let myself be upset for 5 minutes, and then I move on from it immediately after that. Sometimes I even let it all out on a heavy bag, just beat the crap out of it for 5 minutes, and then I'm good to go after that. It is good to let emotions out at times and not let them build up, but the problem is majority of the time they just carry over throughout the day or the next day or a month or a year from now. Even the simplest things sometimes affect us way more than they should. Because at the end of the day, we truly are just small creatures on God's big planet. We literally have absolutely zero clue when our last breath is going to be. It could be a year from now. It could be tomorrow. It could be the next very second. Yes, this is tough to think about, but it is the truth. We do not know. We are truly small creatures here. We are not invincible. And we tend to make our, quote, problems bigger than they are. Just think about this for a second. To give you a better idea of what I mean when I say small creatures, for example, tornadoes, hurricanes, fire, an ice age, or any other natural disaster could just wipe us out completely. Like we do not stand a chance against any of these. You go out into the mountains or in the middle of the sea or ocean, and you're just a tiny thing that could be wiped out by weather or possibly another animal, sea creature. Like even some tiny little bugs could poison you and kill you. I mean, shoot, even our own bodies could just shut down at any moment, just randomly. These are obviously extreme things that are most likely not going to happen, but there is still a chance. And if they do, we don't stand a real chance against them. But to bring it back into things a little bit more comparable to our typical everyday life, each time you go to sleep, it's always a blessing to wake up the very next day, because some don't. Every time we're in a vehicle or walking on the sidewalk, it's a blessing we get from point A to point B, then back to point A again, without getting hit or even hitting an animal that causes you to crash. I mean, I could keep listing all the things that could have or could still go wrong from the moment you were born to here today. But I guess my point is, we are just small creatures on God's big planet, and we could be taken away from here at any moment. So why are we letting things take away from the time we do have here on this earth? Why don't more people strive to live each second to the fullest? Not each year, not each day, not each minute, but each second. That is what I strive to do and will continue to strive to do, because I promise you this: life is so much better when you live for the moment you are in and face the fact that, yes, you're going to make mistakes. Other people are going to make mistakes. And things won't always go as planned. But learn from them and move on from them quickly. Sometimes let yourself be upset for 5 minutes. Then take a few deep breaths, relax, reflect on the situation, and move on from it. Which I do recommend everyone getting a boxing bag stored somewhere in your house for these type of moments. I promise you they are a game changer, and after 5 minutes hitting the bag, you'll probably be too tired to even think about why you were upset in the first place. But anyways, we need to try to not let things that we cannot control or that have happened in the past affect us and affect the way that we feel in a negative way. I get this is much easier said than done, and that there are times where you can't just forget about it or turn the other cheek. Like I said, I still make mistakes. I know other people are going to make mistakes. And I know I'm going to get upset with myself at times, and I'm going to let other people or situations upset me. But I do my very best to learn from my mistakes and grow from them. Or in the case of things that I can't control, I try to stay focused on what I can control, which are my own words, thoughts, and my own actions. Always remembering the quote the mountain man said to us, and remembering that each second here is a true blessing. I'm aware that some people probably think I sound crazy to think like this and live like this, but I honestly can say this has truly changed my life and has helped me get through many, many tough times since that experience camping in the mountains. It has made me into who I am today. And like I said in past episodes, I've not always been like this. I mean, for example, just the other day, I was having dinner with a buddy, someone I grew up with since we were in kindergarten, I believe. We were talking and he brought up how he is truly amazed with the type of person I am today. Probably even a lot of you listeners can't believe that you're hearing me say this stuff. But this is exactly when, how, and why my whole life's perspective changed and how I started living a life that I'm proud of. And if I'm able to make this shift in my life, you can too. Because at the end of the day, we are just small creatures on God's big planet, and we never know when our final day is here. So let's live a life of happiness and doing what we can each day to make the world a better place. But that's all I have for you today. Looks like we're at about 13 minutes now, so hey, we did it. A little bit longer. Day by day. Rome wasn't built in a day. My fiance loves my little quotes I give each day. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, everyone, and I would appreciate it if you could share with a friend, and if you haven't subscribed already, hit that follow button, leave a 5-star review, and help spread this podcast around. I would really appreciate it. But until next time, keep raising your standard.